ASMR. A collection of letters, an acronym. Meaningless words combined, some familiar, some unfamiliar. But the combination of these letters renders a feeling in the listener that is unlike any other. The phenomenon of tingles, the tracing of feelings down the back of your skull all the way to your tailbone. What is ASMR? What is this phenomenon? And why does it affect us like this? 1. Autonomous. We are automatons. We are a collection of cells trapped in an invisible prison. These cells are our cells, a prison window looking out over an ocean we will never touch, looking out to a landscape we will never run free within. Autonomy is relative. Autonomous is the adjective of the noun. An autonomous person, an automaton, something that controls itself, is aware of itself, and maintains individuality in a world that is encrusted with control. So, autonomous. In the instance of the phenomenon of ASMR, autonomous relates to the sensation. This feeling that the listener receives, it is uncontrollable. It grasps the listener. It renders them powerless against the sensation. As if a molestation of the brain from sound waves, binaural waves hitting the sides of the heads, entering, reverberating around the skull, going down the ear canal into the cranial nerve. This sensation is uncontrollable. This sensation is not autonomous. Autonomous in this instance is the death of autonomy. Autonomous is a lust of control. And so through the autonomous nature as the Meridian response, we witness a lack of control. We disarm ourselves to the sound, and we disarm ourselves to the feeling that it presents. In this small percentage of those who are recipients of the effect, 25%, no less, we experience a complete lack of control, a complete lack of autonomy. And through this experience, I believe we are liberated. No longer are we trapped in our cell. We have been let free within a frame of perfection. For perfection can only exist within a realm that contains imperfection. 2. Sensory. The key element of the ASMR experience is sensory. The first example is sound. The binaural aspect of ASMR creates a realistic setting for the user to experience sound. Adding to this a visual presence, as more and more visual triggers are used in ASMR, including light, paper, and brushing. We learn that it is a truly universal sensory experience. It would be no surprise to one day have full sensory, immersive ASMR experiences. For visually, it is difficult to create the sense of smell. Touch can be mirrored, simulated, but it is only ever a facsimile at the real thing. This is why experiences that are categorically sensitive or sensory related are the most popular ASMR videos. The cranial nerve exam is a perfect example of this. The doctor, usually friendly, soft-spoken, allows the user to relax. Then, by stimulating individual senses, the user or the listener or the viewer experiences ASMR. Traditionally in these videos, the ASMR artist or performer elicits all of the sensory responses, including olfactory and touch. This is a tradition in videos in order to continue the sense of realism, to suspend the user's disbelief, and to make them feel as though it is really happening to them. No longer through the sensory experience does the ASMR experience become vicarious. It becomes an active experience, involving the user in the process. Other examples include ear cupping and also light play. These are examples of experiences that simulate the womb. The child or pre-child experience is remembered by all. The safety of being inside their mother and the light dipping through, sounds that are muffled, and a feeling of security in amniotic fluid. ASMR is a replication of remembered and new sensory experiences. As such, the more realistic the experience, the more nostalgic it is for the listener or the viewer. 3. Meridian. Meridian is a misnomer in the ASMR acronym. True, the nature of ASMR has a reference to astrological and geographical meridian signs. The peak or zenith of the ASMR experience begins at the top of the head. It travels downwards, down the central nervous system to the tailbone. To this extent, Meridian is a representation of the journey of the ASMR response. Rotary, as if cut down through the center of the earth, it grounds the user or viewer. What we learn from the use of the word meridian is that ASMR is a cyclical experience. Blessed to those who experience it. It represents a spiritual enlightenment. The rising sun, the setting sun, the birth of the moon, astrological movements, geographic and mathematical meridians represent the movement of the meridian response. It is true that there is a spiritual connection to ASMR. Many ASMR artists perform and fulfill the role of traditional shamans, mages, or witches. Typically a kindly face, welcoming and allowing the user to experience the reality that he or she may not typically be used to. That is why the ASMR experience is innovative as it is traditional, carrying on ancient ideals of storytelling through the oral tradition, carrying on homeopathic and otherwise spiritual remedies for the user or viewer. All ASMR artists have a caveat in the description of their videos stating that it is not a replacement for traditional medical advice or treatment. This shows that the ASMR artist is aware of the healing values of their work, but also at the same time realistic and kind enough to notify the user as such. Related to astronomy and astrology, the meridian aspect of the ASMR is undoubtable. Horoscopes, tarot readings, medicines, apothecaries, ancient practices. I would not be surprised to see videos develop into things like leeches, or perhaps bloodletting, or even a ritual. It is no surprise for me that in a time of uncertain belief, in a time where nothing is set in stone as it was, people are seeking comfort in ancient ideas, ancient tropes from occult practices, new ideas from spiritual awakenings. The meridian is as mathematical as it is spiritual in the ASMR response. 4. Response. The reciprocal nature of the ASMR experience is summarized in the use of the word response for the end of the acronym. Here we find the end result, the response, the culmination of autonomy, combined with senses, combined with the meridian travel. We are left with the response the viewer experiences. In this case, it is typically tingles. This idea of a sensation building up in the back of the head or in locations of nervous concentration. What we learn from the response is that there is a truth to the preceding sections of the acronym. The autonomy of the user is suspended. They are lost of control and they are at the behest of the artist. A sensory overload occurs in the form of light, sound, or other methods. The meridian aspect is the mathematical and spiritual alignment of the ASMR experience, all of these combining to create the response, something that occurs in few members of the population. And yet here we are, a mystery written in 4 letters. Something that is beyond our comprehension and not studied by scientists currently. Will we learn more about ASMR as the response grows? Will it be a form of traditional therapy for us to learn from and use? I do not have answers. All I have is a question. Do you get tingles?